And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the DoDcast Postgame Show. I'm District on Deck co-editor Ricky Keeler as the Washington Nationals get shut out for the second time in 4 games. A big series against the Dodgers, and they laid an egg. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Edwin Jackson was terrible. The offense managed only 4 hits. Really, the only thing to talk about tonight in a positive way was the bullpen. Shut out the Dodgers for the last 6 2/3 innings of this game, but too many home runs allowed by Jackson, and he is slowly pitching himself off the postseason roster with his last 3 starts. They've been dreadful. And for a team that, yes, is really good offensively, there wasn't going to be a lot to take away from this series anyway, but your chance at home field advantage is now out the door. And the Nats really are playing out the string over the last 15 games, I think, now, just to get to the postseason and hope nobody gets injured. I mean, that's really blew your chance at home field tonight. And now Dusty can stop trying to say, oh, we're trying to go for home field, because if you're going for home field, you would have threw your top guys. You didn't do that. You threw Edwin Jackson, and Alex Wood was excellent. There's no way to really put it in a prettier picture. Just a rough night in total for the Nationals. We want to hear from you tonight, of course, so feel free to send a question here into the chat room on the YouTube page, or tweet me on Twitter at District on Deck and at Rickinator555. That's at RICK, letter I, Nader like in Terminator, and 555. So let's get to the totals before we look into some particulars. Dodgers get 7 runs, 9 hits, no errors. The Nationals, no runs, 4 hits, no errors. They dropped to 89 and 58. Dodgers are now 95 and 52. Their magic number to clinch the West is now at 6. Alex Wood gets the win. He goes to 15 and 3, 6 innings, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. Obviously did not give up a run. Edwin Jackson takes the loss. 2 1/3, 7 runs, 6 hits, struck out 2, walked 2, just 55 pitches, 31 strikes. The rest of the bullpen we'll get into did a fantastic job. And I think the Nationals, despite being down 7, had a lot of chances in this game to get back into it. They went 0 for 7 with men scoring position. And there were chances where, like, second inning, had a man on third, 1 out, can't drive him in. Later in the game against Wood, 2 on, was it Wood? No, it was in Baez in the 7th, 2 on, nobody out, can't get anybody in. By the way, does Pedro Baez, like the slowest pitcher in the league, takes like 45 seconds to throw the ball? When you have MLB Network putting a pitch clock on the screen, you know you throw the ball really slow. I was wondering if Costas and Jim Cott would bring that back this time around, and they did. They did that in the postseason last year as well. Let's take a look here at the chat. We got Seth Ross with our Hurricane Jose tracker as it goes up off the East Coast. And Seth Ross said Edwin didn't screw it up. We'd be in extra innings tied at 0. I don't know if we'd be there, Seth, but I think the Nats would be in the ball game. I think it would have been a much tighter game. And when you look at Edwin Jackson, what's been the problem the last 5 games? 8 home runs. He's leaving fastballs up in the zone. Easily crushed. Justin Turner had a 3-2 fastball over the wall in left center to start the game. Then you had Yasiel Puig, which I think he hit off the end of the bat and it still went over the wall. Corey Seager had a 3-run shot in the 2nd that broke the game open. Then you had Chase Utley, fielder's choice in the 3rd inning. That was really about it. The one play I think everybody's going to talk about, it's going to end up on a blooper reel, is what Jason Worth did. Now, we'll get there. Maybe Dusty will talk about it. Maybe Worth will talk about it while we're on here. Andre Ethier, it's a fly ball to right. It appears Jason Worth either definitely couldn't find the ball. I don't know if he was trying to deke Ethier out. It ended up being a ground rule double, so the Nats kind of got lucky. But I don't know. They were saying on the MLB Network broadcast, was Worth kind of waiting for Taylor to get toward the ball? Maybe. Still a bad play by Jason Worth, and that kind of summed up the night. The Nats came out flat in a big game. I mean, if you were at any chance of home field advantage, you had to win this game. That's not happening now, even if you win the next 2. Because LA's got the Phillies, they got the Padres, they got the Giants, they got basically all the easy teams up until Colorado in the year. So you had to sweep the series to have any chance, and that's gone out the window. And you look at Jackson's numbers, 16 runs allowed in the last 3 games. I mentioned 8 home runs in 5 games, and it makes you wonder. I don't think he's making this roster, and he was so good to start his Nats tenure here, and it's gone completely the opposite way. And now it begs the question here as the Nats try to figure out who's making this bullpen over the next 2 weeks. A.J. Cole will get into as a huge start tomorrow. If he pitches well, that can go a long way. Matt Grace did a good job in the pen tonight. Or you want to throw the drastic measure out there, take as many relievers as you can. And if Tanner Roark has to come in an emergency in the postseason, you would have to go Scherzer on short rest or Strasburg on short rest, depending on how the situation played itself out. Because Roark does have experience as a reliever, you wouldn't have that problem. I think you'd want to go 4 starters, of course. But if nobody else can be that emergency stop guy, if Scherzer or Strasburg or Gio A get hurt or B run into trouble, then you're really out of luck. Because putting in Jackson in that situation is kind of like throwing the game away because he leaves so many pitches up in the zone. It's a shame because he throws so many good pitches. You can't afford to waste those opportunities. And I think he's starting to waste his. I thought the first one was just struggling against Milwaukee. Then he had the rough time in Philadelphia, and I thought it was just maybe Roddy Reed catching him for the first time. And now tonight, no excuses. Just laid a big, giant egg. And really, all the experience the Dodgers had against him came to fruition for them. Yep, and the Indians finally did lose, so that streak ends at 22. Still a heck of a streak for the Cleveland Indians. The MLB Network actually cut out of the Nats game with 1 out in the 9th inning to go to the Indians game, and I thought that was a smart business decision by them. But Cleveland had their chances too, couldn't get the job done, but still a heck of a winning streak. And their magic number is still 3 to clinch the division anyway, so they'll have another party again in a couple of days, I'm sure. As for the offense tonight, not exactly much to write home about. Only 4 hits, 1 extra base hit. That was a Ryan Zimmerman double in the 2nd inning. Howie Kendrick had a single. Anthony Rendon infield single. Michael Taylor had a single. Not much else doing. And the big story tonight, at least on the offensive side, was Daniel Murphy. Murphy came into tonight 5 for 11 against Alex Wood with 3 strikeouts. He ends up striking out 3 times. And I kept seeing on Twitter, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that Daniel Murphy's in a slump, that he doesn't look right. Daniel Murphy in September, people, is 12 for 37 at the plate. That's still over 300. Yes, Murphy struggled 2-3 weeks ago. I wrote about all the strikeouts that he's had, and it's still a problem. But he struck out more times in the second half than he did in the entire first half. But that's where the emphasis of Bryce Harper comes into play. I'm sorry, and I know I disagree with Ron on this. If the Nats don't have Bryce Harper in the NLDS, they're not winning the NLDS. I think he's that important because you're starting to see the inconsistency of this offense. When you get shut out 2 times in 4 days, and I know the Dodgers went through a really long losing streak, they've now bounced back, albeit against 2 times against the Giants and 1 time against Edwin Jackson, but you only play who your opposition is. For the Nats to get shut out by Tehran 3 nights ago, and then get shut out tonight by Alex Wood, who had not been pitching well coming into tonight's game, that's a sign of concern that they really just couldn't get anything going and couldn't drive that runner in to get back in the ball game. And without Harper, who at least there's a lot of good news on Bryce Harper, and that's a great sign. It looks like he's going to play in the NLDS, but they need him. They have to get everybody back to what their roles were, because you can tell Murphy maybe he's trying a bit too hard. Zimmerman or Rendon might be trying a bit too hard. You got to get those guys back into what their roles were when this offense was clicking. Otherwise, it's tough for me to think when they go up against a Lester, an Arrieta, a Hendricks, or Quintana. Let's say if that's the Cubs. The Cardinals and Brewers still have a chance too. But if they go up against elite starting pitching, they've got to be able to put runs together. And they didn't do that tonight. They haven't done it really a lot since the other really only game they did that was last night. Besides last night, they've put up 2 runs in the other 3 games this week. And that's not going to get it done. I know it's a lot of nitpicking. I know it's a long season. They get really tired. I understand that, but they did have a day off Monday. They are going to have a day off this Monday, and that's their last day off of the year, by the way. It's not something you want to panic about. It's just something to monitor, that the offense really goes through stretches like this, which every team does. But you wish they put together a better game offensively than they did tonight. But as I said earlier, the best game by far is from the bullpen. Sammy Solis came in for Jackson in the 3rd. He got the next 2 outs on 7 pitches. Matt Grace then came in through 2 perfect innings, struck out 2 on 25 pitches. Joe Blanton did give up a couple of hits, but he went an inning on 20 pitches. Andy Romero threw 11 pitches, 8 strikes in the 7th. Sean Kelly only needed 11 pitches for a 1-2-3/8. And Austin Adams, probably his best game of his professional career. 3 strikeouts, 19 pitches, 11 strikes. In the 9th, he did walk a batter. But Dusty Baker played this perfectly. He didn't overextend any reliever to have to throw 2-3 innings to make them unavailable tomorrow. Because with A.J. Cole on the mound tomorrow afternoon, you're going to need relievers. Because A.J. Cole hasn't started in a while, and the odds of him going more than 5 innings are not very good. So you need as many relievers as you can. So for those guys to all throw an inning, all keep their pitch counts relatively low, it's a good sign. Plus, you keep Kinsler, Doolittle, Batson, the whole law firm available too. So Dusty, even in a loss, he lost the battle, but still has a chance to win the war. And that's a good thing because they can still take the next 2 and still learn something from this series. It's not going to be the big breakthrough series that fans were hoping for, but you can still take a couple games here, still feel confident, still have a winning record against the Dodgers this year, and be happy. I don't think you're upset though if they lose this series, but I think the Nats would love to play a lot better than they did tonight, that's for sure. What else we got here? The set says the Dodgers can have the D-backs, and all the Nats need to do is figure out how to beat the Cubs without scoring a run. Cubs are playing much better, and I don't know if that's just because they were playing the Mets over this week, but they did play well against the Cardinals today. I'll talk about that in a second. But definitely going to see a lot of tough pitching, Seth. They got some really good arms there in Chicago. If that is the matchup, I think it's a 5-game series if that's the case. And I know fans don't like the whole Game 5 in D.C. that not really brought good memories over the last 5 years. But to beat the champ, you got to go through the champ. That might be the case. We'll see if St. Louis and Milwaukee can fight back and make it interesting. But I think if that is the matchup, and Arizona can cause problems for LA, that's for sure. Robbie Ray, they talked about a lot in MLB Network tonight, has had good record against the Dodgers this year. If the Arizona does win the wild card game, and that's important, you have to win the wild card game to get there. Same thing in the American League with whoever plays Cleveland or Houston, whoever wins the 1 seed. Probably going to be Cleveland. You have to be able to get there first. But I do think Arizona can make it a really competitive series with the Dodgers. Couple of tidbits tonight. If you weren't watching the MLB Network feed, Ken Rosenthal was talking about it. They are hoping to get Bryce Harper to face live pitching real soon. They're either going to send him down to Instructional League when that begins on Monday at West Palm. That's when they're going to reopen that facility for Instructional League play. If you don't know what Instructional League is, that's where the Nats send most of their young prospects, usually single A, short season A, sometimes high A guys to sort of continue their instructional league. You can get more teaching and playing some more practice games against other teams. And Victor Robles could have gone there before Arizona Fall League, but he's here. So you see guys like Seth Romero. So if you Nick Banks, Juan Soto, this goes on and on. So if you're down there in West Palm and I don't know how you can get an instructional league game, but if you can, I would go. A lot of good prospects there. They're either going to get Bryce at bats there, or they're going to bring some pitchers up to DC. Bryce is going to get about 15 at bats a day in simulated games to sort of try to get his timing back. So if that's the case, you would hope that Harper miss maybe next week and then come back for that final week of the year, which is 3 in Philadelphia and 4 in Pittsburgh, or 4 at home against Pittsburgh, just to get the timing back in his swing. Because Harper's even told Rosenthal he can if he can run on that knee, he's going to play. He's going to try to hunt. I think the word Harper used with Rosenthal was going to hunt for his pitches. So that's definitely a good thing. Mike Rizzo's talked about how he's progressing nicely. He told MLB Network Radio that today. So a lot of good signs around Bryce Harper, and I think he's the most important cog in this entire thing because he makes everybody go back a bit in their roles. You can slide Harper back in the 3 spot. And I don't know if this offense will go back to the swing of things like it did a few weeks ago, but it'll get as close as it can considering Harper's been out for so long. Let me see what Reset said. Do you think this loss will fuel a fire in October to go off? I don't think, Seth, this loss to the Nats is that in that locker room isn't that big of a deal. Would they like to win this series? Absolutely. Would they have liked to sweep? Absolutely. I don't think this was an end-all, be-all. I think that they know there's a big picture here. They did beat LA 2 out of 3 early this year. I think that'll help them if that happens down the road. But I think right now they're all just focused on getting into their rhythm, finding their swings. They still have 2 weeks to get right, and I think that's the most important thing. They're going to look more at the bigger picture here. I don't think they're going to really focus on one game. Just a bad night by Edwin Jackson. I don't really think this is a sign of big things to come. So I don't. This is just my take. I don't think they're that angry about tonight. Now, the fan will be more angry than the player, and I think that's understandable. I mean, you were told this was a huge series. Dusty hyped this up as a big series, and they came out flat. Maybe you could argue they shouldn't have hyped it up this much, but then you could say, why aren't you going for the 1 seed? That's really a lose-lose situation. You don't want to sacrifice the long haul to win the series, because this series, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't mean much. So I don't think that they're going to go crazy over what happens in this series, Seth. They're going to hope that they play well. They're going to hope, like Dusty said, to learn some things in this series and then play on the final 13 or so games in Atlanta against the Mets, against the Phillies, against the Pirates, and continually just get back in the rhythm, get guys at bats, try guys out in the bullpen and see if they can pitch well to earn a spot in the postseason roster. I think that's really your big goal of the last 2 weeks. And, of course, you'll see more of the younger kids play, like Victor Robles, like Adrian Sanchez, Wilmer Defoe. Jason Worth will get more at-bats. There's a lot of things the Nats can learn in 2 weeks. I don't really think it's a huge deal when you talk about this game as a whole. Do I think the Nats are tricking and not showing everything? I don't think there's any gamesmanship here. I think just the way it lined up. I don't think anybody's really, like the Dodgers we're not going to throw Clayton Kershaw in short rest in this series, and they weren't going to throw Yu Darvish in short rest. I mean, they're throwing Rich Hill and Hyun-Jin Ryu the next 2 days. If it's anything, it's not tipping your hand on both sides of the equation. Both sides are going to play their starters. Maybe the Nats don't play their starters in a game this week. Maybe that's tomorrow with the day game. Depends. Maybe they'll play some younger players. Day game after a night game, so probably Matt Wieters won't play. But I think you eat both sides. You're not going to get your top 2 pitchers on the Dodgers side. You're not going to get your top 3 pitchers on the Nats side. Well, 2 of your 3. Steven Strasburg throws on Sunday. So there's really, again, a not tipping your hand on both sides that I think helps both these teams. Dave Roberts is trying to get his team right. Dusty Baker's trying to get his team right. I don't think you can learn anything that drastic that's going to affect how the NLCS goes if that is the matchup. I know you probably want a different answer than that, but I don't think it's going to be something that tips the hand either way and decides the NLCS off this series. Unless Steven Strasburg goes out there and throws an excellent game Sunday like he did against Kershaw in June, then you know at least Strasburg can beat LA. I think that's a positive you can take from the series if that happens. Let's take a look around the division, see what's happening tonight. The Phillies are taking on the A's. Weird interleague series in September, but the A's 2-hit the Phillies. A 4-0 win, complete game for Megden. 2 hits and struck out 7. How about Matt Olson with his 19th home run of the season? So when people talk about Rhys Hoskins, this kid Olson at first base doing a good job for Oakland this year. As for the Mets, they're taking on Atlanta right now, 3-2, top of the 9th. Mets have the tying run on base, so we'll see what happens in that one. Asdrubal Cabrera is 3 for 3 for the Mets. Their lone RBIs from Jose Reyes and Dom Smith. For Atlanta, Ender Inciarte has an RBI. Freddie Freeman's 1 for 3. And Sean Newcomb threw 5 1/3 and struck out 8 for the Braves. Rafael Montero, 4 2/3, struck out 6, gave up 3 runs for the Mets. Out in Miller Park, remember the Marlins are the home team because of what happened with Hurricane Irma. Milwaukee and the Marlins are tied 2-2. That game in the bottom of the 7th. RBIs from Miguel Rojas, for Justin Bour, and Jose Arenas got an RBI tonight. Pitcher helping his own cause. As for Milwaukee, Stephen Vogt, a 2-run shot in the 2nd. Milwaukee's lone run of the game. They went a full bullpen game tonight because Jeremy Jeffers got the start. Other games in progress. Red Sox rallied back from a 5-2 deficit to tie Tampa Bay in the 9th. So that game's 5-5, bottom of the 9th. Toronto leads Minnesota 4-3 in the top of the 8th. Houston leads Seattle 5-1 in the 7th. Colorado, who's got the big lead on the 2nd wild card right now, they lead 4-1 on the Padres in the 6th. Angels and Rangers are no score in the 2nd. And the Giants lead the Diamondbacks 1-0, top of the 2nd at AT&T Park. The big game that could affect the whole who the Nats play, of course, was in Wrigley today. Cubs beat the Cardinals 8-2 in the first game of that series. Cubs scored 7 runs in the bottom of the sixth to break it open. Their offense has been on fire. They've scored 39 runs over the last 3 games. Chris Bryant, 3 for 4, the home run today. A couple RBIs for him. Ian Happ's got 2 RBIs. The big story from today's game, though, John Lackey got thrown out of the game. Wilson Contreras got thrown out of the game. Bounced his face mask and hit the umpire. So we'll wait to see if baseball does anything suspension-wise or fine-wise involving that. But Lackey definitely is not going to be a starter in the postseason if the Cubs make it there. It's going to be, like I said, Hendricks, Quintana, Lester, Arrieta, no particular order. But Chicago gets a huge win. They're 4 games up on the Cardinals right now. They are 3.5 ahead of Milwaukee. So the Brewers have to win to keep pace with the Cubs. Both Colorado and St. Louis are 2.5 back in the wild card. So they'll wait to see what happens with the Rockies out in a good lead against San Diego. Let's take a look at tomorrow's pitching matchup. Again, it's a 1 o'clock Eastern first pitch. You can catch the game on Fox. Matt Vasgersian, John Smoltz will have the call. It is Rich Hill for the Dodgers against A.J. Cole for the Nats. And you look at A.J. Cole, and again, I'm not expecting more than 5 innings from him tomorrow. He's pitched out of the bullpen the last couple of times. Against Atlanta, he wasn't good. 3 runs, 5 hits over 2 innings, gave up a home run, was really good against the Phillies. His last start was on September 4th. 1 earned run, 5 2/3. He struck out 5 and walked 4 on 100 pitches. You're kind of looking at that 5-6 inning 100 pitch mark for Cole. I don't think you're getting much else. And I think it's a big game for him. The 25-year-old has a chance with a good couple of games here, as the Nats have gone a 6-man rotation at least this time through, to make that postseason roster with Edwin Jackson struggling. So if Cole can take advantage of the opportunity, it might raise some eyebrows in that clubhouse. Curtis Granderson, 1 for 4, the triple and an RBI against him. Chase Utley's 0 for 2. So it's the only 2 Dodgers who face Cole. As for Rich Hill, he's got that devastating breaking ball, as we all know, and Alex Wood, of course, fooled the Nats with his breaking ball tonight. Hill 9-8 with a 3.67. And he's actually, outside of a bad game against Arizona on August 29th, has pitched well. Last couple of starts getting up just 2 runs each in both games. He has given up a home run, though, in 8 straight. The Nats haven't hit home runs in a while, so maybe they're due against Hill. And the one thing to keep an eye on, Rich Hill has not thrown 100 pitches in 5 straight games. So if the Nats can maybe get to Hill early, get maybe 40, 50 pitches in those first 2 innings, they can get into that Dodger bullpen, and that could be a big help because really, we talked about it last night, that bridge to Kenley Jansen isn't exactly the greatest right now. Some of the numbers for the Nats against Rich Hill. Ryan Zimmerman has great numbers, 6 for 9, a double, 2 home runs, and 3 RBIs. Howie Kendrick has 1 for 3. Jason Wirtz 1 for 3, and that's really about it. Jose Lobaton's 3 for 3 with a couple of doubles, had the home run last year in the playoffs, but he's not going to play. He doesn't have a limp, but he might not. He's going to miss a couple of days. So I would expect either Pedro Severino or Roddy Reed in that lineup tomorrow. I think the Dodgers have the edge here in this game. But if the Nats can get back on track offensively, can maybe get a run or 2 early against Hill, work that pitch count up, it might even the game out a little bit. But I like LA's offense. They're on fire right now. I think against A.J. Cole, that's a tough task for him. But these are the kind of games you have to have in the postseason, so we'll see if A.J. Cole delivers. Yeah, I don't know where Judo is, Seth. We're going to have to tell about that next time. Word said there's a 4 to 5. This is, I'm going to guess. I'm trying to see who the quote's from, but thanks, Seth, for the quote on this. About Jason Worth. I'll get who said the quote in a second. There's a 4 or 5 minute period every night where the twilight makes it impossible to see fly balls, and he got one of those. It's not something. Again, it's not something I'm going to go crazy over. Everybody's bound to make an error. I mean, people are going to get on Jason Worth largely because he hasn't really played well offensively since coming back. He's had good swings. I don't think you can take that away from him at all. But when you have nights like that in the field, you got to be able to make. That's not going to help you when you're struggling offensively. You got to be able to do one or the other. And that was Mark Zuckerman had Wirtz say knew there were a 5 minute period of twilight. It's impossible to see fly balls above the lights. Quote, a helpless feeling. We've seen a lot. I mean, Bryce Harper has struggled catching balls in the lights before. Nothing new. Just weird when that happens on top of what Edwin Jackson had struggling. And if Jackson maybe got that fly ball out, maybe the damage is less in the second inning than it ended up being. the Nats at least are still somewhat in that game. Once Dodgers got up 6-0, they weren't really in that game to begin with. But I like what Wirt's doing. He had another good 8-pitch at bat tonight, even though it didn't lead to a base hit. Last couple nights, he's had a few 8-pitch at bats, and that's when Jason Wirt's seeing pitches like that, you know the hot streak is coming. Slowly, but it's coming. Chelsea Janes had that quote, so thanks, Seth, for that. So what do we have up on the site today? Drew did our 5 storylines to watch for this series, so if you missed those, and I'm sure Drew pointed out some facts that you saw tonight or maybe in the next couple of days, so be sure to reference that article as you watch this series. And what else did we have? Oh, Ron wrote about Adam Lynn's contract situation where he got that $5 million mutual option next year. The question for Lynn is, does he want to take the $5 million next year and come off the bench again, or does he want to try to get more money to start? So that's going to be a tough question for Adam Lynn to figure out, but Lynn's been so great for this team this year, and if he wants to come back off the bench next year, Nats fans, I'm sure, would be extremely happy. It's going up tomorrow. I'm going to have an article coming up on the catcher of the future. Who do I think it's going to be? It seems like Roddy Reed has kind of shortened the gap between him and Severino. Reed's good offensively. Severino's good defensively. It's going to come down to which one's the more complete catcher. And with Jose Lobaton at least out a few days, maybe one of those guys can make a good impression on the coaching staff and on the front office. So with Matt Wieters' contract either up this year or next year, the Nats going to have to start answering that question. Who is their next big-time catcher? Is it Severino or is it Reed? And if they figure that out, can one of them be used as a trade chip to get another key player? We'll talk about that. And Ron has an interview going up tomorrow. Today he got to talk to a very prominent insider. I won't say who it is, but tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, you will see the insider who Ron talked with about this series. And Ron will tell you about it all tomorrow because he's going to be here tomorrow afternoon and Sunday night. I might hop on Sunday night after the game. So you might get both Ron and I Sunday night. But you get just Ron tomorrow afternoon for Cole against Till, and then Strasburg against Ryu on Sunday. So we'll see if the Nats can at least get 1 or 2 of these games in this series. Can't really do a live stream during the game, Seth. But we will do definitely live stream post games for after the playoffs. Just something we can't really do. And plus we tweet during the game. So we definitely will do that during the postseason, but can't really do the idea that you suggested. But we'll try to do some creative things during the playoffs. We'll hopefully have whoever the Nats play. We'll get a writer from their team to come on and preview the series with us. I don't know if we're going to do have those guys on the show with us. Especially after postseason games, really tough to get guests from other teams to come on. But again, you'll get either all 3 of us, Ron, Drew, and myself, or 2 of us at least. So we have a lot of cool ideas coming up over the next couple weeks that we're working on. We'll tell you about that as they get closer. But it's been great to be with you guys for every game this year. Let me also talk about a little bit. Of course, they had both the Red Sox and Yankees got fined for that whole Apple Watch gate thing. By the way, the Yankees did win tonight, by the way. I forgot to mention that. I don't think Rob Manfred was hard enough. I get he didn't want to set a precedent, but it just seemed like there wasn't really big penalties. They gave the fines to Hurricane Irma relief, and that's a good thing. But it didn't seem like there was sort of a whole laying down the law, because I still think that's a... I mean, I don't know where you guys stand on the whole Apple Watch thing. But for the Red Sox, the Yankees did too, and then it was something about the Yankees did something with a dugout phone, not even this year. I did not like... I mean, I'm not saying that the Red Sox weren't going to lose games over it. I mean, maybe you lose a draft pick. That could happen in the future, as Rob Manfred sent that memo today. But I didn't like what Manfred did. I understood why he did it, but we'll see if that's a deterrent for teams in the future. So again, give this video a like and subscribe on the YouTube page. You can tweet me on Twitter at Rickinator555. That's at RICK, letter I, Nader, like in Terminator, 555. or at District on Deck. We tweet every game. So if you want to, feel free to tweet your thoughts during the game with us. Feel free to share. You can also like us on Facebook. Just search District on Deck. All of our articles are there. All of our DoDcasts are there. We got other cool stuff on the Facebook page. So feel free to give us a like there as well. So Dodgers get the win 7-0. Hopefully that's not the Rams-Redskins score on Sunday. But we'll see that what happens with that as well. So Ron be with you tomorrow afternoon and Sunday night. I might be with you for the post game with Ron Sunday night. But we have not put that set in stone. So a lot can happen over the next couple of days, but you're definitely going to get Ron solo tomorrow. I won't be with you solo until next week when the Nats are out in Atlanta and at Citi Field for that road trip against the Braves and the Mets. So let's see what we got going on here. Anything else on the Twitter? Any comments from Dusty Baker or anything? Does not look like that's the case tonight. So we're going to wrap it up here. So for Ron Juckett, Drew Douglas, and for all of our District on Deck team, I'm Ricky Keeler saying hope you have a great night. And Ron will see you back here tomorrow afternoon after AJ Cole against Rich Hill.